I took my wholesale real estate business from $50,000 a month with very low margins. I'm talking about 30% profitability, all the way up to $1 million on high profitability, high 60s profitability. And the greatest thing about this is I did it without even increasing my marketing budget. Woo! So I want to share with you kind of how, or like the story behind this, because this is probably pretty damn interesting. Story time! Let's go! So we're right in the midst of COVID, all right? Coming off of 2019, I had hired 3 people into my team. I'd opened up an office, decked it out, nice fancy furnitures, laptops, iMacs decked out, right? I hired 3 people. I had 1 transactional person and 1 acquisition person, and I had a virtual lead intake person, and I was doing the marketing. We were able to do pretty good. We were doing decent. I mean, I was able to take the company from, just myself generating like 20 grand a month, which I was doing a lot of JVing, some direct deals here and there, all the way to about $50,000 a month with this team. Now, one thing I want to share with you is that even though I was doing $50,000 a month, I now had something that I didn't have before when I was on my own, which is overhead and payroll, okay? So my $50,000 a month wasn't really $50,000 a month. I was actually more like making 25 after everything. So to me, I was like really discouraged because I'm thinking, okay, so I went from making $20,000 a month with no payroll and no overhead to now making $25,000 a month, but now I got the stress of payroll, overhead, dealing with different personalities, putting out other people's fires every day. So I was very frustrated, right? The idea of possibly pulling the plug on the whole operation and going back to being just a solo operator was definitely looming. I never really had a strong desire to go backwards, but it was looming. It was out in the air. It was certainly a possibility because I wasn't making nearly as amount of money that I wanted to. So going into it, when I hired this team, I was dead set that we should be able to get to like $100,000 months within, I was reasonable. I was like, I'm gonna give myself 6 months. Fast forward 3 years later, we're still at the same income level, right? Nothing's really changing. I'm kind of going through the motions because I'm dialing up my marketing little by little. I'm not doubling and tripling it just yet because I'm noticing that as I'm increasing it, maybe 50%, that the numbers aren't coming through to the other end. So for instance, if I'm spending 10,000 and I go to 13, I expect it to get that extra 30% bump on the back end, but that's not what was happening. I would probably get an extra 10% bump on the back end. So I thought that was very odd. How is it that I'm spending 30% more money, but I'm only getting 10% more profit at the end? So I'm like, okay, maybe this is just not giving it enough time. So I let it run for months and months and months and still nothing. The results were not coming through. The numbers weren't adding up. So I'm like, okay, so I need more salespeople, right? My inclination after looking at the data was that my sales guy, since I only had 1 acquisition guy, he was getting overwhelmed. He was getting too many leads and therefore not following up on old ones. So I hired a second acquisition person. I split my leads to the both of them. What I expected didn't quite pan out. So second guy comes into the mix. We do a full-on training. I trained this guy for 2-3 weeks, belly to belly, person to person training. Now, mind you, I was just giving him an idea of what I think needed to be done because my one guy that was closing for me was kind of working in a vacuum. He was kind of doing his own thing. I would send him the leads and then he would convert them some way, somehow. I didn't really have a handle on the exact process he was using, but I knew he was making the calls. He was going through the CRM, getting deals. And, for the most part, it worked. We did deals. I just didn't have any structure with it. But anyway, second guy comes in, I train him, give him an idea of what needs to be done. He gets on the phone. He's now taking half of the leads. My conversion ratio on leads is which the only measurement I had in conversion ratio was the number of contracts coming in. It tanked. We went from getting like around eight or nine contracts a month down to like 6, 7. So I'm like, okay, how is it I'm bringing in another person into the mix, increasing my level of stress, adding another person, another mouse to feed, and my contracts that we're bringing in is not going up? I was perplexed, to say the least, okay? I did not know what was going on. The next step was just giving it some time. I thought, okay, this guy's new. Let me have him sit with closer number 1, figure out what he's doing, try to duplicate that process. Like, this is going, like, I just need to give it some more time. Be patient, be patient. But long story short, time did not fix this problem. We continued to struggle in terms of being able, like, I was struggling just to get it back to what the rate that it was before I brought the second person in. So I was really kind of perplexed and confused. That's the word, confused as to what was going on. So at that point, what happened next was something we all know about called COVID-19 pandemic. So with the pandemic, yeah, it was bad, all right? I mean, we had a pipeline of deals, maybe had 10 deals, like 7 of them just canceled. 7 of them just like walked away from the deal, fought us on the deposits. We barely got to keep some of the deposit. It was bad. It was bad. I mean, that month, we were in the red for sure by a good amount. So through the pandemic, I had everybody continue to work. We continued to work. We continued to push out marketing. That's one thing that I think worked to my favor, is that I did not stop marketing, right? I'll take forward in any type of volatility that I go in as a marketing. Whatever you do not stop marketing. But what I did do is I cut back on expenses. I started to shift my marketing to less expensive marketing. So at the time I cut direct mail because it was very expensive for me, and I went to more cheaper routes like text messaging and driving for dollars and things like that. So anyway, I got another surprise. My original closer that I had decided that he wanted to call it quits, that he no longer wanted to work for the company anymore. He wanted to go out on his own. So here I am with my first original guy that was able to convert, leaving. The second guy that I brought on, not really able to even match the type of contracts that guy number 1 was bringing in. And he was bringing in 1 or 2, like it was not gonna work. And I couldn't put my finger on why. And it wasn't because the second acquisition person I brought in sucked. Like I trained this guy, listened to him on the phone. He had great connection, great rapport. It's just something wasn't working. Something wasn't working. So through all this, I was forced to start over from scratch, right? I had to reinvent this business, specifically the sales process, all right? Because with guy number 1 leaving, he was taking everything as far as how he knew how to do things, which was at this point in his head, out the door. And although he gave me a vague idea of what he was doing, I didn't have a good understanding of how he was converting. But as I looked at the sales and the leads and the deals and the notes in our CRM after he left, I determined that even his way of doing it was very inefficient, right? Even though he was able to get results, he was doing it haphazardly, very inefficiently. So I proceeded to scrap everything. I just said, okay, stop. We're gonna stop what we're doing. I never stopped marketing, but as far as the converting of leads, we are like, okay, we need to do something dramatically different, because if we don't, there will be no business here in the next 6 months at all, which was very odd for me to say, because we were bringing in leads. Like, I'm not talking a little bit, I'm talking about 30, 50 leads a month. So the idea that we weren't able to make it work was very weird, very weird. So I was able to triple the amount of leads that we were bringing in, and I was spending the same amount of money. So my marketing budget did not change, but I was able to use that same marketing budget and bring in 3 times as many contracts. Guys, my world changed from that moment. Since then, I have been refining and optimizing the same process, the same structure that brought that much efficiency into my business. And I'm able to teach this to anyone who has a running wholesale business. Have I got your attention yet? I hope so. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. If this resonates at all, go to michelledmurray.com and enter your email to sign up for my email list where I go further and deeper into this.